Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 MyTeam Career mode here for round 1 of season 1 at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Last time out we started up this career mode, created our team, picked our engine supplier, main sponsors and teammate, so if you haven't seen that one, go check it out. This time out we're all set and ready to go for our first race of the season, and this is where we're going to get an actual idea of where we sit in the pecking order, but you can see we are here in practice, and they've got a bit of a new layout to how practice works in this year's game. We've gotten rid of 2 of the practice programs, and now we only have race strategy, time management, and qualifying pace. You can see there. They've also added a bit of a mini game that you can do as opposed to doing practice, but just for this first weekend I thought I'd have a look at this and see exactly how it works. You can see development boosts if you complete certain aspects in practice, but I'm not going to go through too much of that. It's sort of the same kind of thing as it is last time. So you can see here we've just gone out doing laps. Obviously I was completing the programs. You can see a massive tank flapper there as I'm getting used to the car, and yeah, I can certainly tell that Aero is where we are wanting to work on the car. The Renault engine, even though it wasn't the best on the grid, wasn't too bad. I wasn't losing a bunch of time, but you can also see here I was making sure to monitor our teammate Nobuharu Matsushita there and just having a look where he was kind of sitting throughout practice, and I'm happy to say he was definitely doing right. We were pretty close on pace the entire time throughout practice. He was getting out, getting a lot of running, which is good. I don't know if that actually has an effect on the AI in these games, depending on how many laps they do on practice or whatnot. But as you can see here are the results for practice 1. You can see actually P14 there, which isn't a bad result for our first official session in the car. You can see I was on the softs, Matsushita was on the mediums, and there was about 7 tenths between us, 8 tenths between us. So there'll definitely be time in the tyres there, so pretty close. You can see beating out the Haas there of Mazepin. He was also on a soft, and we beat him pretty convincingly, so that's good to see. Hopefully we can stay around this spot in the proper competitive sessions like qualifying on the race, but I'm sure we'll definitely be falling back a bit. You can see resource points at the end of all 3 practice sessions, gaining a fair bit there, about 400, which remember we have set it to reduced resource points for our career mode to make it a bit harder. So yeah, 400 points is definitely nothing to sneeze at. It's definitely pretty good. It'll definitely help towards development of the car. So here we are, ready for our first qualifying run in this car. It's going to be interesting to see where we sit. As you can see, we head out onto the track. We're actually one of the last cars to be going out and setting one of our first laps. You can see Lewis Hamilton there, he's actually coming out to set a second lap time. He went out basically as soon as the session started, but you can see going out for a first session. You can see Matsushita up ahead, he's already done one, he's on a bit of a cool down lap, so hopefully he doesn't get in our way. And as we head through the third sector, you can see we're at a 106.1, but I'm not quite sure on where that sits yet, but you can see Matsushita is going to pull over to let us over, and he actually gives us a nice tow heading down towards the last corner, so good of our teammate to help us out there. But now this is going to be crucial to see where we sit after our first proper lap in anger in this car, and it's P9, 3 tenths off of Matsushita. I imagine that's just to do with track evolution. You can see we dropped to P10 as Leclerc goes to P5, and having a look as the session goes on and more people set times, you can see we're down to P19, so definitely going to have to go out for another lap and see if we can get into Q2. As we head down the main straight, you can see we actually get a bit of a worse run off the last corner there as we stay red. As we hit the apex of turn 1, it does go green for a second, but it doesn't quite stay there. A lot more confident through turn 2 this time though, and you can see we're now about a tenth up as we head towards turn 4. As we now head down the double left-hander, very tricky corner here, slightly locking up the outside corner. We're now going to be about 4.5 tenths up as we head down this back straight, DRS wide open. important to hit the apex here and get it turned in, but it's also very easy to spin the rear. You can see keeping it nice. We're about half a second up at this point. You can see braking into the last corner. We get that very nicely. We're about 6/10 up, so surely this is going to be a good lap as we cross the line. Is it enough? It is. We go P15 in our first qualifying session, so that is us through to Q2. And here are the results for Q1 here, our first ever Q1, and a pretty good one for us. You can see Lewis Hamilton on pole, but that really doesn't matter. You can see P15 for us, only beating out Raikkonen by 1/10, and then only beating our teammate by 2/10, and that's the difference between Q1 and Q2, 1/10 between Raikkonen and Matsushita, and it's actually more like half a tenth there if you really look, but it's nice to see Matsushita very close, only a couple tenths off the pace, but you can see as we head into Q2, we only had enough tyre sets to do one lap, and we're just going to jump straight into that lap, no waiting around. You can see only 20 seconds left of the session, so this is it, all or nothing. You can see a bit of a lock-up into turn 1, so not the best. It's going to make us tighter for turn 2 than we would like. We're getting DRS open as we now head down towards turn 4, but we're now going to cut away from this, and you can see heading into the left-hander towards the end of the second sector, running it a bit wide there and getting our outside wheels off of the track, so there's less grip there. And now as we head through into sector 3, you can see we're almost a second down on Tsunoda, so we're definitely not going to be getting into Q3 this time round as we now head down towards the final corner. This is a very important corner to get right. You can see just about clipping the apex there, not running wide off the track. There's no grip out there. You will spin if you touch that outside. As we cross the line, it's going to be P16. And here we are with our Q2 results. You can see once again Lewis Hamilton topping the session, but we're going to scroll down to where we sit. And you can see there it is, P16, 3/10 off of Kimi Raikkonen, which is a shame because we did outpace him in Q1. And this is about where our pace is going to be by the looks of things, around with the Alfa Romeos, Haas and Williams. But that's it. That's all the important stuff. Let's move on to the race.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Vettel, Leclerc, Stroll and Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly and Ocon, Raikkonen, Benjamin, Nobuharu Matsushita and Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Russell, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do, don't let me down.
Here we are on the grid for our first Grand Prix, and you can see the strategy is going to be a medium to hard, and you can see lowering the fuel down to about 29.6 laps there. Remember, we can't change fuel modes, so and the only time we can put it into lean to save some fuel is under safety car, so have to make sure not to burn too much fuel, but also don't want to put too much fuel in the car, so definitely a bit different to it was last time out. But we now cut to the start of the race. You can see fuel mode is locked there, but the 5 lights rev up and they go out, and it's the start of the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's a pretty good launch off of the line there as we pull up alongside Kimi Raikkonen, and we're going to have a look to the inside to see if we can make up any more places, and diving to the inside there as everyone slows right down to the corner. Now you can see we are caught on the apex there, and Ocon's through, and we try and hold around the outside of Fernando Alonso, but we get a bunch of wheel spin on the curb, and that allows the Spaniard to get through, and now Raikkonen trying to fight his way back in front of us. You can see trying our best to hold the inside line as he dives around the outside, and he's still actually alongside us there as we come out of turn 4 and head into the S section. We are able to pull ahead there. It's very hard to hold around the outside as we now head down into the hairpin. Actually, Raikkonen sending a dive down the inside, actually making a bit of contact with us there, but we are able to hold around the outside, get the better run off of the corner, and he's going to try and hold it around the outside of the double left here, but we do hold position. No, we don't actually. He gets a much better run around the outside, and now we're going to have to tuck back in the slipstream. You can see overtake mode enabled, and we're going to range right up on the back of the Alfa Romeo, send it to the inside through the left-hander, and we do get the position back on Kimi Raikkonen. So Kimi did not want to give us that position for free, and we had to fight for it. But you can see now the pack ahead have pulled way out in front. You see about 1.5 seconds there, and a massive tank slapper as we head down towards the final corner to complete the first lap of our first Grand Prix here in Suzuki Racing Team. Matsushita is in this pack, only a couple cars behind, so not too bad. You can see another big kick of wheel spin as we head down the main straight. You can see cutting into lap 5 now, and here comes Kimi Raikkonen with DRS. Now DRS has been enabled, and he sends it to the inside of turn 1. We're going to hold it around the outside, and then we'll have the inside for turn 2, and we do hold position, but he's once again going to have DRS as we head down towards turn 4, but he's not able to go for any dive bombs there. We use overtake mode to make sure he isn't able to range up onto the back of us as we now head to the last corner on lap 5. And it's Valtteri Bottas DNFing from the race. You can see there some sort of issue, so that's a shame there for the Mercedes driver. We're going to have a look at replay of what happened. You can see he's in second place, just behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton, heading through the final corner here, and he just pulls over and slows right down. So some sort of technical issue, not necessarily a full-on engine failure, but that is a shame there for Valtteri Bottas. He was doing good and very possibly could have been going for the race win. As we cut back to our view now, you can see at the end of lap 6, going on to lap 7, you can see we've got Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc pitting. So looks like those guys that made it into Q3 and have running on the soft tyres are going to have to start making their pit stops now. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it looks like they might have to be doing a 2-stop, so we could very possibly find ourselves even further up the field. As we cut now on to lap number 8, you can see we've got Stroll, Sainz, Norris, and Max Verstappen in the pit lane, and you can see Lewis Hamilton's actually come out just ahead. So just 7 laps of full green running, and those front guys have been able to pull a full pit stop on us, so you can see just how much work we are actually going to have to do. And you can see we do still have Kimi Raikkonen right up behind us, trying to go and get back into his position that we took off him at the start. You can see still getting wheel spin out of the corners, and now as we cut to lap number 9, we've got a couple more cars in the pit lane, and we do pull in to P6 actually, so pretty decent points. If we can try and hold off a couple of positions here, we could very well find ourselves in the points, but we do have to remember we've got some very fast cars behind us. You see Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. I'm sure they won't be waiting around, although they are battling each other right now, but at some point I imagine once they resolve that issue there, they'll be right on our case as we head through the S's here. Looks like Perez comes out on top as we head through the hairpin, running it a bit wide actually. I am starting to struggle on these tyres. They are starting to wear out a little bit. We are meant to be pitting on lap 13, so hopefully we don't lose too much pace there. But Sergio Perez is actually right behind us now, just a couple of corners, and those Red Bulls are able to catch right up to us. They do have the Honda engine, which is much better than our Renault. The Red Bulls also just have a much better downforce package than we do, and you can actually see that here as he gets a good run out of that left-hander and is able to just sweep around the outside. I have to back right out of it to make sure he gets through without making contact, and Max Verstappen actually making a bit of contact with the rear of our car as he's trying to now find his way through, and you see using overtake mode, but he's still going to go for the move down the inside, so I just back right out of it. I don't want to be going side by side and possibly crashing here in our first race. And now the Red Bulls are through, but you can see that Red Bull battle there actually sort of slowed down the pack behind, and now I have 1.5 seconds back to Kimi Raikkonen, but I'm just going to sit behind the Red Bulls, not try and overtake them. But you can see cutting now to lap number 11, they have pulled right away, but I have actually been able to pull a few more tenths on Kimi Raikkonen as he sort of battles away with Schumacher and Matsushita and whatnot. So hopefully I can just sort of sit in this position. You can see P8 at the moment. I imagine there might be a couple more cars trying to come through, but we could very possibly be going on for some points here in our first Grand Prix, which would be out of this world. I wasn't expecting that, especially qualifying down in P16, but I guess that goes to show the one-stop can be very powerful, and you can see very worn-out tyres here now as Sebastian Vettel comes through, but we are meant to be pitting this lap.
It's not good news, I'm afraid. Seems like an engine issue.
And that is not what you want to hear at this stage of the race. We're only just about halfway through, and we apparently have some sort of engine issue here, Jeff is letting us know. So that could definitely be an issue. We could definitely start losing places. But that's alright, we're now going to come through for our first pit stop, and our one and only pit stop of this race. You can see getting followed in there by Kimi Raikkonen. Hopefully we can get it all done and sorted nice with no issues as we pull into our pit box. Is there going to be any issues? Hopefully we come back out of Kimi Raikkonen. It's done pretty quickly and done very well there, so that's very good to see as we head back out onto the track. I don't think anyone in our little group at the back of the pack actually pit before this, so we should be coming out in nice clear air, and we do that. You can see it's 10 seconds to Fernando Alonso ahead, but now we have to worry about these engine issues. You can see we've got about 1.7 seconds back to Kimi Raikkonen, 1.8, so we didn't actually gain or lose any time on Raikkonen in the pit lane. But you can see just by the end of the lap, I don't know what it was, but something was really wrong with the car, not the engine per se. It was actually really odd. It was all the corners were just, I was really struggling to carry any speed through them, and you can see they're running it a bit wide to the last corner, and that just meant Kimi was able to use that, like just in one lap, was able to pull right up to the back of me, and you can see as we head down the main straight, I've just got nothing on him. He just pulls up right ahead as we head down into turn 1. Not even able to go for a dive. He was just way too far up. You can see just having a little peek at the outside there to maybe try and force a mistake, but in the end there was nothing I could really do. As you can see, I get DRS as we head down to turn 4, but it's not enough, and Kimi does have that position on me now. But now as we cut to the end of lap 15, you can see Matsushita is right behind us, and just having a bad run through that left-hander, and he's able to get the run on me. You can see he goes for the crisscross with the right-hander, and he is through now as we head through Sector 3, but I don't want to let him go. He's our teammate. He has an equal car to us, and I want to keep my car in front of his, basically, as we head down to the last corner, kind of running him to the inside a little bit, and he gets a bit squirrely on the power onto the main straight. So we're going to have DRS. I'm going to use overtake mode, and we've got the slipstream, of course, and we duck to the inside, grab the position back off him, and even have enough time to get back onto the main straight. So it sort of feels like the engine issue has been sorted, but just again, I don't know what it is, but the car just felt so undrivable this entire last stint, and I was really, really struggling as we head down towards turn 4 now. But you can see once again as we head through the left-hander, I just cannot get a connection with this car. And you can see Matsushita is right behind us once again as we head through. You can see the massive lift off I'm having to take, and I still end up right off the track. So something was definitely going on. I don't know if maybe I had a bit of floor damage that wasn't showing up in the MFD. You can see scrolling through there to see if I can find any reason why this car might be behaving so differently, but I just can't find anything. I don't know if it's maybe a bug or if it is damaged but not enough to show up on the MFD. But you can see now as we head on to lap 17, once again going to come back through on Matsushita, and now we have to be careful though because Mick Schumacher is right behind us. So we head into turn 1. He doesn't go for a dive, but you can see once again really struggling through just every single corner. I'm not as confident through turn 2 as well, which gives everyone behind me a better run. You can see Matsushita easily comes back past as we head into turn 4, and that's kind of the end of that battle. Now he's just going to be able to completely pull away through all of these corners. You see getting caught on the curb as well doesn't help, and already just massively wide. I don't know what it was. The Schumacher even trying to have a look there as we head through the hairpin, but just not quite able to do anything. You can see once again it's the exact same situation, having to have a big lift and still running right out wide, and Schumacher easily down the inside as we head into Sector 3. which is basically just one straight and one corner before we hit the start-finish line. But you can see we're going to do the same thing we did Matsushita. We're going to put up as big a fight as possible. It's mainly for pride. I don't think we're going to be getting any points. As you can see, we're now in P16 and falling further and further back. Matsushita already 3 seconds ahead. But as we head down the main straight, we're going to go straight past Schumacher there. You can see he covers to the inside, so he dives to the outside. And actually, I thought it was going to be easy into turn 1, but no, he comes back at us into turn 1 and is able to go around the outside of turn 2. And so I get no DRS actually. He got the DRS. I have to use overtake mode. I'm going to be kind of alongside as we head into turn 4. It kind of goes back and forth, but he's able to hold his line around the outside, and he is ahead. It's going to be a similar story. Now that he's ahead here, he's going to be able to easily get away through the S's, and I'm just not going to be able to keep up whatsoever. So it's really, really disheartening, you know. We were at a point before our first pit stop where we thought there could very possibly be points on the table, and it's just not happening this time. You can see as we cut to now lap 20, you can see he's 4 seconds ahead, Matsushita 7 seconds ahead, so we're just losing so much time. You can see Stroll, who's made another pit stop on the fresh mediums, easily gets past us there in a place where normally overtaking isn't even an option or something you would consider. So yeah, very, very much struggling here in this race. You can see now we cut to the end of lap 20, he's pulled almost 2 seconds on us already, and we are a bit of a sitting target to the cars behind. You can see Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo now the next person to try and attack us as we limp around this track. You can see we've still got about 8 laps to go in this race, and this is it. We've got 4 cars behind us, and that's all that's left, as we do have 2 retirements. And you can see Giovinazzi easy pass as we head into turn 4, and as we already know, if someone's ahead of me here, then they're gone. So now 3 cars behind. You can see as we head onto the back straight, they're not even close enough to get DRS on Giovinazzi. That's how far ahead he's able to pull. You can see we have Nicholas Latifi right behind us. He's not going to be close enough to go for the dive into the left-hander, but he is certainly very close to us. We've seen people make moves on us. You can see he tries to go around the outside there, but I do cover it off a bit. You can see having to get off the throttle, and he's going to try and go to the inside as we head into the 3rd sector, but he's not quite able to do it. And you can see getting a bit of a tank slapper there as I'm just desperately trying to get on the power to try and get away from these cars further behind me, and it's just not really working as we head into the last corner, and I'm a bit of a sitting duck here to Nicholas Latifi. He does have the Mercedes engine, which is definitely better than our Renault engine. As we head down the main straight, here comes Nicholas Latifi. Is he going to be close enough to go for a move? It doesn't quite look like it, but he's certainly going to be close enough to go for a move into turn 4 by the looks of things. You can see getting up on the curb, which is definitely something you don't want to do. I am just a bit flustered at this point, trying to work out what on earth's wrong with this car. And you can see, just like last lap with Giovinazzi, Latifi easily down the inside, but I do force him right to the inside of the corner because I'm going to try and go around the outside. I really don't want to lose this position, but it's just not enough. I can't carry enough speed around the corner, and Latifi now is going to be able to just pull away into the distance, and we now have Nikita Mazepin and George Russell behind us, and that is it. So I'm trying my hardest. I'm fighting for my life here to not finish last on track, but it looks like it's going to be to no avail. Really, it's a battle that I'm just going to lose. As you can see, we head down the back straight. Nikita Mazepin isn't quite going to be able to get close enough to go for the move into the left-hander here. The Ferrari engine still isn't the strongest, so that definitely won't be helping him. You can see just running right out wide here, getting the outside tyre off the track, and Mazepin's just going to be able to go around the outside here, but I do actually just kind of close the door on him there. I'm just starting to get real desperate to try and hold on to this position. But you see a massive tank slapper there, and that's definitely not going to help in our battle with Mazepin and Russell here. As you can see, they're now right behind as we head into the final corner, just trying to give myself as good a run as I possibly can, but it's really just not going to do anything. You see Mazepin is right behind as we now head to the main straight, not even going to bother defending, although I do actually try and force him to the inside, but in doing that, Russell actually catches me a bit off guard, and he dives around the outside of not just me, but also Nikita Mazepin, so they're side by side, but I'm not going to be able to really do anything about it. You can see the Mazepin ends up ahead anyway, but I just wasn't really close enough to go for the move. And you can see as we head on to the about endish of lap 24, Russell has pulled about 1.5 seconds, and you can see just spinning the car around through the left hand. I've just got absolutely no connection with this car, and that was kind of really the final nail in the coffin for me. It is just this race was really over. That I wasn't going to get any points. I was very close to getting overlapped, and you can see here as we head to the end of lap 25, I am going to pull into the pit lane and retire the car, which is a huge shame here for our first race of the season. This is definitely not what I was wanting, you know. Earlier on in the race, we very possibly could have been going for points, but you can see we do get overlapped by Lewis Hamilton there as we head into our pit box. But that's it. That is us out of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
And here we are with the results of the Bahrain Grand Prix. You can see Matsushita, they're actually in P14 in the end, so good result from him there. And, you know, you could see that we could have ended up being in P13. And, yeah, in the end, it wasn't a great race for me, but it's good to see Matsushita at least has the pace. In last year's game, the F2 drivers usually finished right at the back, even if you gave them a pretty decent car. So good to see him up there in P14, but you can see there, there's us retiring from the race alongside with Norris and Bottas, which is a huge shame. We're definitely going to have to work on durability by the looks of things. That's going to be a huge factor in this year's game. Yeah, that's really it. So, going to move back on to the standings now. You can see driver standings doesn't really mean anything, but constructors, we're sitting in P9. You can see the bottom 4 teams there, including us not getting any points, but we are beating the sponsor objective. Remember, we have to finish 10th or higher in the constructors, and by the looks of things, if we can just get ourselves a few points this season, we should be able to do that. So hopefully at some point we can bring in some upgrades for the car and get us those few points. We were actually a lot closer than I thought we were going to be this race, you know. As I said, Matsushita in P14, we definitely could have been P13, maybe even higher if there were a couple issues for a couple other cars. So yeah, it's not looking as doom and gloom. You know, you got to take away the positives from every situation. So certainly, points can be on the table soon if we bring the right upgrades at the right time. But you can see here, just going into the kind of funnel summary wrap-up sheet here, getting Team Acclaim up to almost the end of level 2 there with just that one race. If we get it to level 5, we can get ourselves another sponsor and bring in a bit more money. Speaking of money, you can see losing 12k there with a bit of damage, so it looks like we did have a bit of floor damage in the end there. That would have been hurting the race. It's just a shame it didn't come up in the MFD. It definitely would have been good to see that, not that anything could be fixed, but yeah, that unfortunately not the best first weekend, but that is going to be all from me today, guys. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content from myself. I'll certainly be playing the hell out of this, my team, and I'm determined to try and get us to the top of the constructors table, even if it takes us many seasons. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.